doing some shit. So I'm staggeringly close to 100,000 followers, so let's use No Nuance November to change that, shall we? That was a joke, please don't leave. While Tom Holland is an amazing actor and probably the best cast for Spider-Man to date, he has not been a well-written Spider-Man in any of the movies he's appeared in. Iron Boy! While Curran Walters is probably an okay-ish cast for young Jason Todd, he cannot play Red Hood, period. On that same vein, Jensen Ackles would be a terrible Red Hood in live action, he's way too old. Henry Cavill is an absolutely amazing cast for Superman, he just hasn't received a role where he has been written as Superman. Him and Tom Holland have pretty much the same problem. The Snyder Cut is not going to magically solve all of the problems that were in Justice League, and it's probably just going to be a very, very, very pretty, mediocre movie. In that exact same vein, Zack Snyder is not a bad director. He makes very, very pretty movies. He likes to make eye candy. Get off his ass. This is all just my opinion. Light me up in the comments. I don't fucking care. So this video is probably not going to get any views, but I want to explain my take on comics canon. More so what is and isn't considered canon and what that means for overarching stories. I think canon, especially for comics, is completely subjective. You can accept and not accept certain stories as canon, and just, that's fine. The one I just mentioned in a video, I don't think that Three Jokers is canon. I don't care how many times DC tells me it is, I don't regard it as canon. Basically anything that happened from New 52 to Rebirth, I pretty much ignore. Mostly everything, most of the Batman stuff is cool. With comics being a medium that is iterated on by so many writers and creators, what is and isn't the true story is almost completely subjective. I don't think that there's an issue with ignoring that certain stories even happened. My version of Batman is going to be different than your version of Batman. Same with my version of any character is going to be different than your version of that character. So what's the problem with the stories being different? I don't know, personal opinion. Let me know yours.
Deadpool, but with the mind of the Batman who laughs.
My friend, you picked the one character in all of comics I know better than any other. I fucking love Deadpool. And that absolutely needs to be known before I say this. Deadpool with the mind of the Batman who laughs is just the Batman who laughs with a healing factor. Because you see, Deadpool's mostly got two things going for him. He's a fucking amazing fighter, and he has a healing factor. Breaking the fourth wall is not an ability, that's a mental thing. That's how he thinks. And Batman already canonically knows, and I quote, every martial art known to man. And hell, even the Joker breaks the fourth wall. He has super sanity. He also knows he's in a comic, so technically the Batman who laughs would also have that. So as terrifying as it sounds, it's really just the Batman who laughs with a healing factor. I get this question a lot, and how many feelings am I willing to hurt tonight? To be blunt, MCU. Hear me out. The Arrowverse tries to make all their characters Batman, with the exception of maybe Legends of Tomorrow. MCU, while yes, I know I'm gonna get this comment, they try and make every character funny, and so everyone's gonna say they just try and make everybody Iron Man. The MCU has a better track record of adapting characters from old comic books to new movies while still remaining mostly faithful. Arrowverse just saw that people like Batman. Every character now has a Bat family. I can tie every character from the later seasons of Arrow to at least one member of the Bat family. I can't do that with the MCU. So while neither of them are perfectly accurate, the MCU is better to me. Leave your takes in the comments, I want to hear them. What? No. Batman is the Tony Stark of the... How did I never think of that before? That makes so much fucking sense. That pairing is so much better than every single who would win Iron Man or Batman fight. Because if we're being honest, Iron Man should be fighting Lex Luthor. Two characters who are only powerful because of their money who fight with giant metallic suits to fight superhumans. But everybody wants Iron Man to fight Batman because Batman is the fucking Batman. But if we're comparing personalities, then Green Arrow and Tony Stark are almost identical. Two egotistical billionaires with weird facial hair who mask all of their emotions through sarcasm and humor, who fight amongst gods and are some of the only humans to be able to do so, who use weird gimmicky things to be able to do that, who both also quarrel with the other apparently human person on their team who's also just another god tier character. Captain America and Batman, if you were wondering. Holy shit, how didn't I think? Yeah, yeah, that happened. This is actually a great gateway. Let's talk about some of the times that this medium that I love very, very much with all of my heart was just really weird about black people. Because about 9 out of 10 times us, moon people don't do you beautiful people justice. There was this story that this person is referring to where, Lois Lane, to get the true experience of a black woman in Metropolis, had Superman make her black. The fact that like 8 out of 10 black characters have the word black in their superhero name. There was the time that the Punisher medically had himself turned black as a disguise. Even had a team up in Harlem with Luke Cage. Speaking of Luke Cage, early Luke Cage! Just all of it. Young artists of color, please get into comics. We desperately need the diversity. Let's talk Frank Miller. And if you hear snoring in the background, I'm sorry, I have, puppies. So Frank Miller is probably one of the most influential authors in comics history. For those of you who don't know, Frank Miller was the person who wrote 300, he wrote Sin City. If I'm not mistaken, he also drew both of those books. If I'm remembering correctly, he wrote Batman Year 1, but he didn't draw that one. And his most seminal work of all, he wrote and drew The Dark Knight Returns, which basically shaped all of comics for like the 90s onward. It was the thing that made Batman dark again. Basically nothing could stop the guy. He was a fucking powerhouse, both in the writing and the art division. But then 9/11 happened. I know, what a twist! Yeah, Frank took that shit personally, and he fell down every one of the wrong rabbit holes. Got a little, everything-ophobic. I'll make a part 2 talking about it a little bit more. This is Frank Miller, part 2. Frankie boy, after 9/11, went a little... DC rejected a story he wrote for Batman called Holy Terror. So Frank decided to say, hey, fuck you, I'm Frank Miller. Chop Batman's ears off, publish the story himself with original characters. Same fucking title and everything, just Holy Terror. Never read Holy Terror. If you see a copy of it at a thrift store, if you see a copy of it at your comic shop, burn it. Just so you're aware of exactly what we're dealing with here. This is the cover. It reads like the Islamophobes Manifesto, with a good little sprinkling of homophobia in there for good measure. He published a sequel to The Dark Knight Returns that was just, Remember the first book where we analyzed Batman's fascist behavior and determined that it was a bad thing? Good, neither do I just discovered what Photoshop is, and I want to tell you how Batman's fashion's good, actually. Yes, that's why Frank's not been around very much lately. No one's super hyped to work with him. You see, this one's a little bit tricky. Stronger is relative here. Let me break it down. Okay, so I'm gonna explain the difference between vibranium and adamantium, and we'll sort out stronger later. Vibranium is a natural metal that rejects all vibration, while adamantium is an artificial metal that is virtually indestructible. I say virtually because only pure adamantium is indestructible. Most other versions that you see are not. Like Wolverine's bones can technically be snapped under enough pressure. Given the planet would probably snap as well, but that's besides the point. While vibranium is strong because it deflects all impacts. You could technically cut it if you weren't using vibration, but you could also cut adamantium if you use superheated adamantium. It's kind of a moot point, really. Their strengths are in 2 totally different areas. That's why whenever anybody wants to make the strongest metal in Marvel, they combine the 2. Captain America's shield is a combination of pure adamantium and vibranium. So both, technically? Alright, excuse the white trash look, I'm in the gym. I'm sick and tired of people putting shade on fucking Green Arrow's name. It's always the same goddamn thing, same with Hawkeye. Oh, you're out here stopping crime with a bow and arrow? Well, just fucking shoot you, it's that easy. No, shut the fuck up. I don't think you understand. If you're robbing some dude, and some other motherfucker rolls up, confident as hell with a bow and arrow, and just fucking snipes that shit out of your hand, I'd run. The fucker was dressed and packing like Robin Hood, and apparently he knows how the fuck to use it. The fuck is your ass gonna do, catch the arrow? Once he snipes the gun out of your hand from 7 blocks away, there ain't shit you can do. Even motherfuckers' fists are mobile. Dude's gonna fire a boxing glove arrow from the top of a goddamn skyscraper and you're down on the ground with your pants down because he also sniped your fucking belt off. He's also loading the battlefield with tiny knives. And mind you, both Hawkeye and Green Arrow will be making fun of you the whole time. So yeah, you just got taken out by a guy with a weapon that was made in the fucking 12th century. That should show you exactly how fucking terrifying he is. Okay, so I get this comment all of the time, so I figured I should just make the video and get it out of the way. Here's Panda's guide to starting to get into comics. So the simplest way that I could put it is pick up a comic and start reading it. If you don't like it, pick up another comic and start reading that. Comics are an incredibly varied art form, so no matter where you start, it's going to be just as valid as anywhere else. The way I started is that I went to the library and picked up the first graphic novel I saw that looked interesting. Read all of it, and then while paying no mind to continuity or what actually came next in the story, I went back to the library, picked up another graphic novel, and read that. You know, my views on canon really make sense now. But if complete chaos isn't your game, then here's what you do. Find a character you want to get into. Look up what their fan-favorite story arc is. So for Deadpool, it would be like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Then track down that graphic novel and read that. Time has passed from that first video. I have aged! So now I'm gonna give you some reading recommendations for comics that I enjoy. If you have the chance to pick up any graphic novel that Alex Ross has drawn, do it. That man is an art god. Back when I wanted to be a comic book artist, I wanted to apprentice under him. He is amazing. Specifically, one of my favorites is Kingdom Come. Might need to have a little bit of experience with DC lore to understand some of the story bits of Kingdom Come, but it's still amazing read. Next pick is Arkham: A Serious House on Serious Earth. It's this in-depth dissection of Batman's psychology and the psychology of the people in Gotham. It also has the scariest Joker design I've ever seen. Yeah, he looks like this. Merry Christmas. Now, I know a lot of people give Tom King shit because of his Batman run, but hear me out. The next pick is Mr. Terrific. No particular reason. If you're feeling edgy, Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe is amazing. I absolutely adore Daniel Way's run on the Thunderbolts. Spider-Man Blue is an incredible dissection of Spider-Man and his lore. Deadpool headcanon is a trip. In the next video, I'll describe what comics not to start with. This is a part 3. If you're not supposed to be here, fuck off. So what comics do we not start with? Let's get the big one out of the way first. Do not start with Watchmen. Do not start with Watchmen. Or do, I'm not your dad. Watchmen is a critique of comics from the perspective of an 80s comic book writer. If you enter Watchmen without the foreknowledge of what they're critiquing, a lot of the points that make it as great as it is will just kind of miss. Not saying you're not a true fan if you don't understand it. Gatekeepers should be purged like the Spanish Inquisition. Here's an example. You wouldn't watch an SNL skit about a news story that happened in the past if you didn't know what happened in the past, because the points of the skit that would make it entertaining just wouldn't really hit. If you're trying to get into comics as a whole, don't start with V for Vendetta. Just because it's really wordy, it's more novel and less graphic novel, so if you're into a lot of writing, go ahead and start with V for Vendetta. It's really wordy, know that. Maybe don't start with The Dark Knight Returns, because it will seem very cliche. But it seems that way because it created the cliches. Disclaimer, this is all just my opinion. Merry Christmas, everybody. Why I'm out here looking like the beefiest Rice Krispie brother? Well, it's because today we're talking about the most terrifying comics character of all. Christopher Krangle. St. Nicholas. The Red One. Santa Claus. We're talking about Santa Claus. But Panda, it's Santa. Why is he scary? Well, I'll tell you, and I'm gonna start with DC. One time, Lobo was hired to kill Santa Claus by the Easter Bunny, before fighting him to a goddamn standstill because he's as strong as Superman. DC's Santa Claus fights through all of the armies of Apocalypse every year, simply to deliver a single piece of coal to Darkseid. Man's a beast! Jumping over to Marvel. But all magic is science in Marvel. How does Santa make any sense? Oh, that's simple. Santa Claus is an Omega-level mutant. He can, indeed, travel around the world in one night. He has omniscience, and can change his body's size and mass at will. Be happy that Santa likes making presents. Otherwise, the Avengers or the Justice League could not stop him. Yeah, that was Kyle. You know you fucked up pretty bad when your actions make a verb. Let's explain getting fridged. So there was this supervillain named Major Force. Think Captain Atom, but unambiguously evil. And if you don't know who Captain Atom is, he's basically a nuclear bomb strapped in a human-shaped shell. So Major Force was hired by this organization to get Green Lantern's ring. Major Force thought that the easiest way to get Green Lantern's ring would be to just beat Kyle Rayner to death and take the ring. But how do I get Kyle Rayner to fight me? I got it! I'll take his longtime girlfriend who has been a major character up until this point in the comics, strangle her to death, and then stuff her in his fucking fridge! Yeah, they pretty blatantly just used her as an object to motivate Kyle to fight this D-list supervillain. It also inspired the term getting fridged, which is a reference to the book Women in Refrigerators, which Gail Simone wrote immediately after this fucking incident. It refers to any time in media where a woman is killed and or abused, simply to motivate a man's actions. Thanks, Green Lantern! Alright, Purge the Shadow recently made a video asking me about a superhero versus. Two opponents are Captain Atom versus Quasar. And I had to think long and hard about this one because it's a really tough match. Captain Atom. It's Captain fucking Atom. There are 2 times that I can remember that someone ripped Captain Atom. Both of them, didn't really end that well. Instance number 1, Kingdom Come. In Kingdom Come, Captain Atom is fighting Parasite. Parasite thinks that the best way to finish the fight is to tear open Captain Atom's suit. You wanna know what happened? Kansas? Like the state of Kansas? We don't need that no more. State that differently. Dude, removed Kansas. Gone. Instance number 2, Flashpoint. Sea King Aquaman pumps Captain Atom full of a bunch of nuclear energy and then fucking detonates him. You know what that does? It wipes out a reality. Imagine what would happen if he fought a hero with similar powers to him that was just pumping him full of energy. They better be fighting outside of space and time, because when it gets a little bit too tight, they're gone. Bye-bye.
DC Extended Universe is doing wrong that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is doing right.
Alright, so here's my take. DC tries to adapt while Marvel tries to interpret. DC, at least with Batman, Superman, and to a certain extent Wonder Woman, tries to take their characters almost out of their most successful stories and adapt those. Like, all 3 of them are mostly kinda based off of their Dark Knight Returns versions. Other than Wonder Woman kinda edged a little bit closer to Marvel. Same with Shazam. And the reason of that is that Marvel doesn't adapt characters from the stories they're from. Marvel adapts what the character feels like. MCU Iron Man doesn't act like comic book Iron Man, but he still feels like Iron Man. Same thing with Captain America. That's not how Captain America acts in the comics, almost at all, but he feels like it. He feels just like it. And that's kind of how they treated Wonder Woman and Shazam. And I mean, Suicide Squad's its own beast, but whatever. That's my take.
Okay, beat my lineup. Marvel heroes and villains only.
Yeah, alright. In this corner, we got Shang-Chi, Captain America, and T'Challa himself, the Black Panther. I can already hear the comments right now, but Captain America has superpowers. He was a skinny little whip. Which, whatever. He took steroids. Very, very strong and effective steroids, yes, but they're just steroids. They're not superpowers. He's basically Arnold Schwarzenegger if he had a black belt and was somehow less involved in politics. Shang-Chi is Marvel's answer to Bruce Lee. And I refuse to believe that Bruce Lee died than any other reason than the universe thinking he was getting too powerful. And I don't really think I need to explain myself with the Black Panther. Are you gonna fight the Black Panther? I sure as shit am not gonna fight the Black Panther. Especially comics Black Panther. That dude will fuck you up. I mean, hey, if you can think up of a better lineup to bare-knuckle fight Batman, Bronze Tiger, and Lady Shiva, please leave them in the comments. I wanna know. Same rules as dude's original video. No powers. This is a bare-knuckle fight.
The Human Torch versus motherfucking Firestorm. Who y'all got?
Well, this goes to Firestorm. No fucking contest. No, I know. I can hear the Johnny Storm stands now. But he can burn as hot as the sun. He has complete control of his flame. Yeah, no, that's great. Firestorm can turn him into bubbles. Firestorm can turn him into a fucking pile of daffodils if he wanted to. Or, you know, he could ignite all of the carbon in the Human Torch's body and just fucking incinerate him. You know, like the entirety of Full Metal Alchemist? I haven't watched the show, but stick with me. Firestorm can basically perform alchemy. As long as parts of you make up parts of something else, he can turn those parts of you into that something else. Oh, but he's just a high school jock. He's not going to know all of the things that make up a human body. He has a PhD level chemist in his fucking head. Firestorm is 2 people in 1 body. This just became a 2-on-1 fight, bitch. Oh, and Firestorm's fire? Yeah, that shit's nuclear. It's like Dr. Manhattan with Ghost Rider's hairstyle. Firestorm, no content. Oh, I am so happy that you left this comment. No disrespect to you or anyone who's left this comment in the past. Just let me explain. Comics, especially superhero comics, almost since their inception, have always really been political. Creators have always used the medium, either explicitly or implicitly, to convey a political message. In Superman's original run, he defeated mostly white-collar crime. Landlords, factory owners, that sort of thing. He was a champion of the people when the people didn't have one. Joe Simon and Jack Kirby had Captain America knock Hitler out on the cover of his first issue before America had even officially joined World War II. There's all of Green Lantern and Green Arrow, and the X-Men. Marvel broke the comics code by talking about youth on drugs in the middle of the war on drugs. Watchmen critiqued the Vietnam War. It also critiqued Nixon, while Dark Knight Returns critiqued Reagan. Comics are created by people, and people will always have opinions. And as long as that is true, comics and politics will never be truly separated. And honestly, that's not a bad thing.
For a, I don't know, how would I put this, slice of life type story.
Okay, so I have 2 books for you. If you didn't watch his original video, he wants to find a slice of life superhero story, where the characters have superpowers, and sure, sometimes they go out and save the world. But that's not really the focus of the book. So first, my personal favorite. Please read The Superior Foes of Spider-Man by Nick Spencer and Steve Lieber. A bunch of B-list supervillains who, after the original Sinister Six gets locked up, tries to become Spider-Man's new Sinister Six. But after, like, the first story, they lose one of their members, so now they're just down to 5 people. And it's just a story about these 5 people who really, really want to be supervillains, but are just kind of shit at it. Honestly, one of the funniest books I ever read. I love it. Second story you should check out. For the love of all that is holy, read The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl by Ryan North and Erica Henderson. If you're looking for slice-of-life superhero narratives, there is none better. The overall story does get pretty fucking insane and involves a lot of the outside Marvel universe, but the primary focus is on the characters and how they interact with one another and the world around them. And the art is just so quirky, I love it. However, if you're more of a DC guy, read any Teen Titans run. Honestly, any of them. I hope that helps.
Who is the worst father in comics?
That's a rough one, because that implies that there's good fathers in comics? I don't know which one is the worst, but I'll give you a couple. Bruce Banner's dad was abusive enough that he had to make the Hulk as an escape personality. Thanos just kind of exists. I mean, Darkseid traded his son away to New Genesis for a peace treaty that he then immediately broke. Oliver Queen was a shit dad both times. First he kicked Roy out in the street and called him a filthy junkie, and then he treated Connor Hawke like Superman treats Connor Kent. Speaking of Connor Kent, Superman just kind of ignores that Connor Kent exists. I'm gonna put Reed Richards on here, not because I actually have any evidence against him, but just because he gives me really gaslighty, mentally abusive vibes. Cyclops' dad abandoned him and his brothers to go be a space pirate. There's probably more, but this is depressing, so I'm sad now. Don't any of you say Batman, Bruce is trying his best. Well, I talked about the worst dads in comics, I guess it's only fair I talk about the best ones. Starting off this list, all the people on this one. Other than Wally West, I have my reasons. Pre-New 52 Wally West, absolutely. Post-Rebirth Wally West, dude just radiates blood-soaked "I did this for you" vibes, and I personally don't think that's great dad material. And I already hear the people hating on Logan saying, but he killed most of his kids, including the ones he knew. He did everything he could to save Dakin until Dakin made it very apparent he did not want to be saved. And every one of his children that he's killed, he did not know they were his children at the time. Moving on. Fuck with Batman's kids, I dare you, I double dare you, motherfucker. Fuck with Batman's kids. For reference, Google Injustice 2, Batman fights General Zod. Batman's not a bad dad, he's a bat dad. Moving on. Booster Gold. Specifically Future Booster Gold. He just loves Rip Hunter so much. Plastic Man. Him and his son are just best friends and it's so adorable. Deadpool. That man just loves his daughter so much. I mean, given everybody with a brain loves Ellie, but still.
Somebody been smoking and drinking. Somebody been smoking and drinking.
In what capacity? Marvel's got DC movies beat by, like, landslides. Justice League could have had a cameo featuring the second coming of Christ, and it still would not have made up for Jared Leto's Joker. I will watch Thor: The Dark World 1,000 goddamn times before I sit down and watch Batman say Superman's a threat while he's gunning down 30 gangsters. It really had Joker out here sounding like a creaky fucking door. But I mean, the comics are pretty much on equal footing. They both do way too many events. They both decide to change characters simply because it's gonna drive up profit margins. Like, come on, Marvel made Captain America say Hail Hydra just to see what the fuck would happen. Then again, I mean, DC put Joker in a gimp suit and went, no, it's Batman! He just done do to chuckles sometimes. Both of them give way too many books to like 1 or 2 characters. And I mean, both of them are fueled off the tears of angry fans. So, yeah, I agree with you on a movie aspect. I will laugh in your face if you tell me DC's movies are better than Marvel's. But I think the comics are basically the same.
And I really want Panda Red to weigh in on this, man. Get in on this.
I'm up. Let's talk about it. Seeing as how large-scale healing in the real world actually requires a decent amount of bed rest and food and water, I would assume that that would also need to be done for people with healing factors. However, also in my mind, every time we see somebody in the comics go through a situation in which they would need to use their healing factor, at least to any major extent, probably like 98% of their blood at that point is adrenaline. I mean, the Punisher unloads a machine gun clip into your dick, your first thought isn't going to be, fuck, I need a Big Mac to make sure this grows properly. So they probably do eat like a fucking trash compactor, it's just off screen. But also, they're constantly healing just to look the age they are. Our cells slowly decay, theirs don't. So they probably are fucking tired as hell, man. Like, all the fucking time. Just spilled it myself. Probably just used to it at this point.
Now your goal is to make a starting 5 that will beat mine.
Oh, alright. Bet. For those of you who didn't watch the original video, his lineup is Thor, the Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange, Galactus, and Black Adam. There are only 2 rules. I can't hedge from his list, and it's gotta be 3 heroes and 2 villains. And I'm sorry, but I'm coming with my A game. I'm not even gonna make this easy. Superman's off my list. So's Superboy Prime. So's the Anti-Monitor. Let's get into it. For my heroes, we got Blue Balls himself, Dr. Manhattan. Sticking with the color palette, we got Blue Marvel. And for my final hero, I got the Spectre. But Panda, the Spectre only punishes those who have sinned. Oh shit, yeah, you're right. Wait a minute. No more mutants. House of M. Doctor Strange has Planet Hulk under his belt, as well as assisting in killing Another Earth with the Infinity Gauntlet. So basically just his whole ass time in the Illuminati. And I mean, Gore's entire motivation was the sins of the gods, so there goes Thor. Anyways, for my villains we got Molecule Man and the Beyonder. Man, I'm sorry, you said Galactus and I had to pull out the big guns. If you think you can be my lineup, duet this. Alright everybody, it's Valentine's Day, and like every other single nerd, I'm gonna live vicariously through the relationships of fictional characters in spandex, so let's talk about the best relationships in comic books. First in line of our long list of lovers, I got the easiest choice. That being the classic pairing of Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne. Wait, no, all the abuse. Well, never mind about them. On to the next one. We got the Green Lantern Kyle Rayner and Alexandra DeWitt. Oh wait, no, the fridging. Okay, that's fine. On to the next one. Marvel's first family. Of course, I'm talking about Mr. Fantastic and Sue Storm. Oh wait, no, all of the gaslighting, abuse, and putting their child into a coma out of fear. Oh, fuck. Okay, speed round. Spidey and MJ. In the future, he fucks her to death. God, fuck. Batman and Catwoman, they're both crazy, and Catwoman left him at the altar anyway. Son of a fuck. Spidey and Gwen Stacy. She fucked his best friend's dad while they were together and had 2 kids with him. What the fuck? Captain America and Agent 13. That's the daughter of your first girlfriend, man. Come on. I mean, there's the Waynes, the Parkers, Superman's parents. Happy Valentine's Day.
How do Cyclops' optic beams miss?
Alright, so hear me out here. With Cyclops specifically, his optic beams aren't really targeted. It isn't like you were saying where you can just move your eyes and the lasers will follow them. Cyclops specifically is pretty fucking weird. He's not like Superman where his eye beams are lasers created by his eyes. Cyclops' optic blasts come from the fact that his eyes are portals to a dimension filled only with kinetic energy. And because of this, as far as I can tell, Cyclops' beams just go forward. So it's less where his eyes are pointing and more where his head is pointing. And then it pretty much just comes down to reaction time. For Superman, it's plot purposes. Superman's writing usually works around his powers and not for his powers. Like the man can tank the full energy of the sun and lift a book filled with infinite pages, but somehow gets beat to death by Joe Fixit's spiny cousin. His powers are kind of a slave to the plot. So yeah, with Cyclops, it's out of his control. With Superman, it's just kind of how it is.
Oh, our oldest daughter Kenzie is deaf. She's recently gotten into superheroes.
I just wanted to hop on here because I love when new people get into comics, and I wanted to recommend a deaf character to you. Hawkeye has been deaf for years, and his stories center around it really well, and I think that it would be a great introduction to deaf characters in comic books. A good portion of some of his more recent runs actually focus around the use of sign language and how other characters react to it. In Hawkeye vs. Deadpool specifically, Deadpool pulls up his mask every single time that he talks to Hawkeye so that he can read his lips. And whenever that option isn't available, he also learns sign language so that he can communicate with Hawkeye better. Depending on how young Kenzie is, you can also look into the Marvel comic The Blue Ear. It was a book made by Marvel specifically to include deaf characters more into comics. I always love inspiring new readers, and I hope these recommendations work out in the long run.
Is it breaking your no-killing rule if they just come back anyway?
I apologize, my audio is gonna get desynced near the end, but I am just not fucking motivated enough to take this out of the app and edit it. If you haven't watched the original video, he's asking for characters that have a no-killing rule. If they know that someone that they are teamed up with cannot die, or that they'll just immediately come back, are they opposed to temporarily killing them? The example he gives is if Daredevil, Deadpool, and Punisher are on a mission, is Daredevil cool with just taking Punisher's gun and popping Wade in the head to get the mission over with? Yes and no. Morally, they have no issue for it. Characters with no killing rules have done things to Deadpool that would kill a normal human being because they know he'll come back. But at the same time, I don't think that they would make the express effort to do so, especially if it's unprompted, because it's so ingrained in their brain not to do that thing. Like, Spidey's been pulling his punches since he was 15 just so he doesn't knock someone's fucking jaw off. It's just kind of muscle memory at that point. But morally, no, they don't give a shit. Instinctually, yeah, probably.
You know what I want to see? I want to see a female superhero that's funny.
There we go. Let's get down to fucking business. So if you haven't watched the original video, she wants to see a female superhero that's legitimately funny and can make crass jokes without it being a big thing. She's thinking like Spider-Man, Deadpool levels of character. Who isn't this unrealistic female goddess? I got you, because there's so many and they're underrepresented. First of all, this is the big one. Read Harley Quinn in her own comics. Don't read her in Batman. Don't read her in Suicide Squad. Read her in her own comics, and I swear, I promise you, she's hilarious there. Also, she doesn't give a fuck. Gwenpool is amazing female nerd representation. If you're looking for that sarcastic, self-assured Spider-Man-like character, go check out Power Girl. Preferably when she's not written by a man. Also, Rocket from Milestone Comics is just fucking great. I wouldn't recommend you trying to play that one though, but still. Jessica Drew Spider-Woman is just fucking amazing. Oh, fucking She-Hulk. For fuck's sake, please read She-Hulk. There's too many to choose from. One more day. One more day. No contest. It's one more day. Let me explain to you the difference between One More Day and All-Star Batman and Robin. All-Star Batman and Robin is an Elseworld story. It's outside of continuity. It's not going to affect anything. It's an alternate take on Batman from the mind of a creator that we already knew likes grimdark Batman. Yeah, it's dark, it's edgy, but it's Frank Miller. You knew it was going to be dark and edgy. One More Day is canon. One More Day decided the fate of Spider-Man going forward. For those of you who don't know, One More Day is a storyline where Spider-Man sold his marriage with Mary Jane to the devil to save Aunt May, who was suffering from, and get this, a gunshot wound. Just a gunshot wound. Multiple characters can manipulate time and space at fucking self, but God forbid we can't save the elderly lady with a bullet in her stomach. Did I mention she also told him to let her go? Yeah, let me reiterate this. He sold his marriage and child that he knew he was going to have to the devil for his aunt that has been elderly since the 60s. Erasing actual decades of history. They pulled a new 52 on one character specifically. Yeah, One More Day.